Olá, bem-vindos a mais uma live da comunidade Shalom. Nosso evento já vai começar. Antes, se inscreva no nosso canal no YouTube. É muito fácil, basta acessar shalom.org.br/YouTube e confirmar sua inscrição. Ative também o sininho para receber as notificações de vídeos novos. Ah, você já está inscrito? Interaja ao vivo no chat durante a transmissão. Aproveitem mais este conteúdo que preparamos para vocês.
Olá, Haatsmaut Sameach. Estamos muito contentes que vocês estão conosco, celebrando 73 anos de Israel. Estamos muito felizes, honrados com sua presença, celebrando este momento tão especial e tão importante para os judeus do mundo inteiro, não apenas para os que moram no Estado de Israel. E para a comunidade Shalom é uma honra, é um prazer poder receber em nossa casa virtual a Aviel Avraham, o cônsul e vice-cônsul do Estado de Israel em São Paulo. Ele, antes de trabalhar no corpo diplomático, ele dirigiu um programa para promover a excelência entre estudantes universitários no Centro Interdisciplinar IDC em Herzliya, em Israel. Aviel vai contar sua história, mas ele emigrou da Etiópia para Israel ainda criança, e ao longo de sua vida e carreira, ele tem se dedicado a construir pontes entre culturas para quebrar barreiras e promover a compreensão e desenvolver relacionamentos duradouros. Por mais de 2 décadas, participou de delegações destinadas a criar diálogo entre Israel e membros de diversas comunidades nos Estados Unidos e na Europa. Aviel é um sargento mestre na reserva de Tzal e recebeu uma recomendação do comando da Frente Interna por seu serviço durante a Operação Protegevch em 2014. Ele possui graduação em Ciência Política e em Sociologia na Universidade de Bar-Ilan e também um mestrado em Governança e Políticas Públicas do IDC em Herzliya. Aviel está casado com Avraham e tem 3 lindos filhos, do que nos vai contar um pouquinho. Aviel vai falar um pouquinho em português, depois em inglês e um pouquinho em hebraico também. Baruch haba, seja muito bem-vindo. Welcome, Aviel. It's an honor, a privilege to have you in this Haatsmaut.
תודה רבה. שלום, ברוכים הנמצאים. Rav Adrian, muito obrigado por having me, por entrar mim, por vocês casa. Isso é muito importante para mim. Eu cheguei no São Paulo 6 meses antes. Comigo... eu falo um pouquinho português, como a Rav Adrian fala, mas desculpe a todos, eu vou falar inglês. Desculpe, mas eu hope for the next time. Nós falamos todos entrevista, todos conversar com português. Now,
Ótimo, muito bom. E queria avisar a todo mundo, quem quiser fazer perguntas, dúvidas sobre nossa conversa, podem escrever no YouTube ou no Facebook e vamos repassar para Aviel, que gentilmente vai nos responder. Aviel, let's start with your biography. When you arrived in Israel, tell a little bit about your story, your journey.
Great. It is, first of all, I would like to say that I really appreciate, this is not the first time that this relation between you guys, Shalom, and the consulate, for many years since the consulate established in Sao Paulo, we maintaining these meetings every year. All the consuls, generals, VC consul generals arrived, and you guys invited them to speak on behalf of Israel, and uh, and this is now my turn to maintain and to keep this relation. But I think I will be the first to hold this special meeting in this special time. So I'm really happy and thank you for this opportunity. So again, my name is Aviel Avraham. I'm the Vice Consul General of the Consulado de Israel in Sao Paulo. I arrived 6 months ago, and I'm so glad to be here in Sao Paulo, and I'm waiting for the chance to come to you guys and to meet you face to face. As Avraham mentioned, to your question, I was born in Ethiopia. I came to Israel when I was 4 years old with my family, and I arrived to Israel when I was, very young. I don't know something else. Of course, I have my heritage, my family, my history in Ethiopia, but Israel is my home, and I'm here on behalf of Israel and to do this amazing shlichut.
So, Aviel, in your house, they speak Amharic, they speak Hebrew. What language do you talk to your family?
In my family, we spoke several languages. Actually, I spoke two Ethiopian languages.
Okay.
From my mother's side, I speak Amharic, and from my mother and my father's side, I speak Tigrinya. This is the north part of Ethiopia, the Tigray region. So I speak both of them, and we also speak, of course, Hebrew and English. Mas agora nós falamos pouquinho português, so it's.
And tell us, it's different. The two different Ethiopian languages, the Amharic and the Tigray.
Yes, the letters, the reading is the same reading, but the speaking and everything is really different. Is Ethiopia has 100 million people, and is a huge country, so is a different language, totally different languages. But I speak both of them.
Another question: your kids, they speak these languages both?
Yeah, there's sometimes when we are going to our when they visit their grandparents, of course they speak, but they are so young, and I hope in the future they will not forget their heritage. I really want them to adopt this amazing tradition of Beta Israel, and this is not only the language, this is everything, the customs, the food, a todos, and I hope they will not be forgetting this. Where their parents came from.
Mm-hmm. So we speak about your family. Please present us your family, your wife Avraham, and your kids. How they a little bit to know your family.
When I'm not doing a diplomatic mission, I'm sharing a very warm house with my lovely wife Avraham. We both studied at Bar Ilan University when we were students, and we met there. And gracias a Deus, we be able to build a house together, and we have 3 adorable children. My oldest son is Mikael, and he studied at Hebraica, and Itai is 6 years old, and Sagi, baby Sagi, 2.5 years old.
Okay. And how old is Mikael?
Mikael is 9 years old.
9. Great.
Yeah.
So for the people that don't know a lot about the history of the Jews of Ethiopia, tell a little bit for background to see how they arrived to Israel, a little bit, and how was your klita in Israel, and how to decide to go to your actual position, to enter to Misad HaChutz.
This is, I think when I when I'm talking about the Ethiopian Jewish community, Beta Israel, this is the official name of the this amazing community. I will try to describe my Aliyah story, and in this way, maybe to give you a little bit of background on the whole the people from Ethiopia that arrived during these years. My family arrived in 1983 to Israel. But before we arrived to Israel, we had to spend 2 years and a half in the refugee camp in Sudan. This was the point where our Aliyah Peilim, those who are work for the defense forces in Israel, and together they agree on some specific locations that the Ethiopian Jewish will have to march, to go until they arrive to Sudan. So we walk, I think, 700 miles from Ethiopia to Sudan by foot. I'm
Wow.
talking about young, adults, children, women, pregnant women, sick people, older people. I mean, all really the whole community doing this amazing journey. And they have only one thing in their mind. They have the faith and the beliefs that their prayer in more than 2,500 years to fulfill the dream to arrive to their home, to Jerusalem, to Israel, finally happened. And if they knew that this is what they have to sacrifice, and they need to consider if to do that again, they probably will decide to do that again in this way. So we walked this all distance, and we lost so many of our beloved during the way. I'm talking about more than 4,000 Ethiopian Jews that we lost during those time of the journey from Ethiopia to Sudan to Israel. And unfortunately, many of them until today doesn't exactly know where is the location, where is the place that we buried them on the way, because the journey must continue. And no matter if you are sick, if you are not feeling well, the journeys must continue. We cannot stop, because on the way many bad things happen to us in order to fulfill this dream. And arriving to Sudan is another chapter of this amazing journey. This community, even though we are talking about not estimation of 150,000 Ethiopian Jewish living in Israel, we lost so many, and we sacrificed so many. I don't want to compare our Aliyah to other communities and other Jewish that arrived and what they had to do in order to achieve this dream. But when I'm talking about my people, my community, they have so much suffering during the way until we arrived to Israel. And I said that Sudan is the other chapter in this journey. So from Sudan, we had to go very small groups in small containers of trucks that those our local soldiers that arrived from Israel to collect our people. So they have to pick up from the refugee camp by trucks into the location where the helicopters and the other units, Israeli force, security force were waiting for us to arrive to Israel. This is part of my family story, but unlike me, there is many others that couldn't fulfill this dream because they lost their families, they lost their beloved one. I was lucky that my family, my entire family, arrived together to Israel.
And
Living in
speaking together, we knew that a month ago arrived 2,000 Ethiopian Jews come from Israel, And one of the question, how many still remain in Ethiopia?
I will go back to this question because I just please Adrian, just let me complete
Okay.
the other part of this Aliyah story because it will be connected to this question because when we stay in Sudan for 2 years and a half, in this time you guys should realize what is Sudan in that time. Sudan at that time there is a camp of refugees, and among them, Ethiopian Jewish trying to survive, to maintain Jewish life. Some of them being jailed in Sudan prisons, some of them being killed, some of them being arrested for any other reason that they may arose during this time. But Sudan is really traumatic, a traumatic part in the history of Beta Israel, because this part of our immigration makes us even be, how to say that, to be more strengthened. Our faith didn't go and lost. We didn't lost our faith. We maintained and kept Shabbat and kept everything, even though we were in a really difficult situations. And arriving to Israel, and then seeing these amazing pictures of our mothers and our grandparents uh, falling down to the ground and kiss the ground and kiss the holy ground. This is everything is so naive, is so simple by the meaning of connecting to the land. So this is amazing story of what this unique community bring to Israel. Um, it makes me really. I'm not sharing this often, but this is really important for me to share with you, and I need you to know this basic from where I came. That's why I'm here talking about my story, and I'm almost. It was almost 40 years ago, and I'm doing this closure, and I'm here in Sao Paulo doing the very first step, and so grateful that I did all this journey by airplanes. I didn't work all this distance. I had this luxury to arrive with those airplanes, and
So it's a long way.
unlike 40 years ago. Yes,
It's a long way from Sudan to São Paulo
That's
and
right.
all the story.
Yeah.
So back to the further questions, how many Ethiopian Jews still there and they want to come to Israel? And what's happened with this negotiation, with the possibility of reunion of families who are split by this, and possible that all the Ethiopian Jews come to Israel?
This is a very complicated issue, task, and I'm so glad that my colleagues from my Ethiopian Jewish community, among them my uncle Rabbi Shai Avraham and other friends, taking this subject really seriously, and they are together with the policymakers and decision makers working together to try to bring this amazing aliyah and to allow this family reunion. I'm not talking about now. This is not the important part of the question. If they are, what is their status? What is the how the law is referred to that? Because it's a really long story. But I know that I have very good friends that are dealing with this, and I hope that in the few coming days or weeks we'll find the final answer of who will stay there, because Ethiopia, as I mentioned before, is a huge country, 100 million people living there. By the way, most of the Ethiopian Jewish live in the villages at the north, at the center of Ethiopia. And when the government doing the decision who is the family reunion, in what way to do this family reunion, is taking long time. And I hope in the coming few weeks we will get the full answers of who is staying there and when they should come.
So we're coming back to Israel.
Yes.
Aviel studied at Bar Ilan, and after that at the IDC. And how do you enter to the diplomatic service?
You know, I found myself always in a conflict with the education. In one hand, I grew up in Ethiopia in a village. Education wasn't something that it was really something that if you had the opportunity to study, you go. But in my case, this opportunity wasn't part of my agenda. It wasn't found in my area. I had other things that I think nobody can compare that. And I'm so glad that I get what I get from my family. But education was something else. Education was something that you need to do when you do other things. And I was fight to go and to study, even though I didn't have all the information that I need to go and to study. I was fighting to get education, and I understand from a very young age that this is will be the case for myself and for other many like me, especially olim chadashim, newcomers, that if you are not have education, without education, you will not be able to succeed. So I was very happy when I get the chance to study at Bar Ilan University. I decided to go to political science and sociology, international study and sociology. I was thinking that it would be things that I want because it's remind me, I'm sorry, but when I was 17 years old, I did my first shlichut to United States, 16 or 17. And it was my first mission on behalf of Israel, representing the state of Israel. And I think when I grew up, something that stayed in my knowledge that I need to do something with that. So I go to study international study at Bar Ilan University. And during my academic time, I was always working to support myself. I did 3 or 4 jobs to support myself. And I also was lucky that I found family, which they are part of my family now, that supported me and directed me. And they are like my parents for me and show me the other side of the importance of having education. By the way, they are Americans and they are, I'm so excited when I'm reminding this story all the time because they were pushing me to go and to get education. And I was lucky and I'm also ambitious. I'm ambitious and I'm pushing myself because I know without that I cannot do nothing. So when I finish university, my first degree from Bar Ilan University, I decide that I want to try to get also a master. So I went to the IDC, the Interdisciplinary Center in Herzliya, and I get the chance to do my master there. And after that, I came back to Bar Ilan. It was really a year ago while I was on a junction to decide either to start to continue to complete my thesis and PhD study at Bar Ilan, where I finished 1 semester, or to go to a diplomatic way, to diplomatic path. And my dean of the department in Bar Ilan University told me, this is your professional's life. This is the academy, and this is completed. In one day, you will come to us. So I choose to go to the diplomatic path, and I will go back to complete my PhD as well.
Great. So your first, when you come to Brazil, You did a little study about what's Brazil, Sao Paulo, what they told you in Israel about your next mission, and what to find here in last half a year. Was the same stuff or different?
It was, I, I think it's not really, it wasn't hard to convince me to arrive to Brazil because I knew that we are, you know, I knew that our relation between Brazil and Israel are at the point that is really, I don't want to say excellent because there is always a place to improve, as I believe, as you will get to know me. There is no excellent. I need first of all to keep working hard to make them even more better. But they are the best relation that we had between Brazil and Israel. And I think that I'm coming to the point that Sao Paulo is a hub, I think one of the greatest hub in Latin America. I think all over the from also all over the world. And for me, it's I always try to see what is the challenge and what is the challenge and how I need to face with this challenge. Coming to Sao Paulo, I knew that it will be difícil para mim, because eu não falo bom português. I knew that I have to work very hard in this short time to understand the language, to understand the custom, to understand the manner, everything. And as I say, gracias a Deus, I have this ambitious to succeed, and I'm studying Portuguese twice a week. I have a lovely teacher, and I hope that next time it will be better. And in this task and the relation between Israel and Brazil, I think what we did yesterday at the Avenida Paulista is just to show you guys how deep is this relation. Because in other parts of the world, other countries don't have this chance to do these amazing activities. And we are doing so much things in the consulate to maintain and to strengthen this relation.
We start with some of the questions that arrive to you. The first one, I see you in advance. It's, what's the difference between your two titles, consul and vice consul? Please explain to us.
Okay, it is really funny because actually there is no much different, because at the end it's depend where we are serving. Because we are serving in a consulate, there is a head of mission. Head of mission, he is the director of the whole consulate, and I am his deputy. So a vice consul general is a deputy chief of mission, and a consul general is the head of mission. So actually this is the same. There is no difference between the title because we are both consuls, but he is the head of mission and he is more senior than me.
Okay. He referred to Alon Lavi, who is the,
of course, claro,
the head of the consulate. He was in our congregation many times.
Many times.
And it's also a close friend as Aviel it's becoming now. Another question is, when you arrived to have some goals for your tenure here in Sao Paulo, what's your goals in the consulate, in your work?
I think one of my goals is we are in a place that is really, as I mentioned, is a hub, is a economic trade and market, really one of the largest in the world. And I think this is a great opportunity to contact between Israeli companies to Brasileiros companies, between the ideas and the amazing high tech and technology that Israel has to offer, and to connect them with the Brasileiros companies, because I think together we have, I think the combination of the two countries is amazing. because the knowledge that we have, the technology we have, we can use here in Sao Paulo, in Brazil, all over. And I think these relationships, this relation between us and the Brazil, between Israel and Brazil, is the opportunity for both of us to enjoy and to be benefits from what each other has to offer. Uh, I'm here in Sao Paulo, the state of Sao Paulo, 40 million people, uh, lots of high techs. All the companies all over the world are, have a house here, and I think this is something that I want also to take back to Israel. My other goal is to keep and maintaining the relation between Israel and the diaspora. It is really something that I'm cherish almost all my life. I I just mentioned before that I am involving in the strengthening the relation between Israel and the Jewish communities all over the world since I was 16. It was my first mission to United States, and after that I did other many other missions in a different platforms, and this is something that I'm really carrying with me. This is part of my lives to encourage you guys here because your support and our support is is one. Israel is my home, like Israel is your home, and I'm here to support you and to give whatever we can do as the official representative of Israel to you as a Jewish living abroad. One more goal that I want to do is really in my personal perspective to be able um, coming and learning everything, adopting this amazing culture, this unique culture. I have this opportunity to come, and I don't want to say I will become Brasileiro because I'm Israelense, claro, mas I think this opportunity for me to be with you guys, to maintain this relation with you, to speak with you, to learn more as much as I can, it is one of my goal, and I'm looking forward to keep and having this discussion more and more with you.
Another question, come back to the Ethiopians in Israel. It's from Rubens Born, who want to know what are the challenges of the adjustment of the Keilah in cultural, sociological, economic. What's your point of view about what's the stage of this klita of your community in Israel?
Very good question. Very good question. It's not a secret, as you see and witness in the news. I'm not going to paint this in a pink and say everything is good. You know, this is not the idea. I'm here to share with you my experience. Talking about my aliyah, my community aliyah, is a really unique story. And you guys need to understand that we arrived not 40 years ago. We arrived way back before. But there is two things that didn't happen while we are here. And it was very hard for the society to learn more about our magnificent, amazing history. Part of it is related to the operations, the military operations, the all the secret operations that been involved in our history, and some of the story was classified. It couldn't be open until very few years ago. So for more than 40, 30 years, actually the Israeli society knew very few about my history. They knew about my history, but they didn't know about the operations, about the other side of the Aliyah, which is, in my opinion, one of the most important things. And now, thanks God, part of the materials is getting exposed from the archive, and more people knows about the Aliyah of Beta Israel, which is the name of my community. And but let me tell you that talking society, I can look and say, yes, we did really good. Many of us, individuals, doing great job for themselves, and they are working very hard, and they are succeeding. We have representatives almost on all the levels. We have, thanks God, now we have ministers, we have MKs, parliament members, we have chiefs in the police, we have chiefs in the army, we have people in the high tech. Yes, these are examples. But when you look back and see the whole community, the situation could be even better. And I'm always optimistic that in the future the situation will be better. I know that is something that is not always look and reflected because of the some stories that arose here and there, which are they are not nice. Some of them not coming from from I don't want to say, but not educated peoples. They are not understanding what is the meaning of their saying and giving damage or creating something very bad. But I hope that in the near future we will see we will see a different situation in the Jewish community of Ethiopia in Israel.
Okay, thank you, Aviel. So we are celebrating Yom Haatsmaut, Chag Haatsmaut, and we want to know how your family, when you were in Israel, celebrate Yom Haatsmaut. What your favorite thing that you are doing on this day? You are doing mangal. We are going to any singer concert. What are your customs on Yom Haatsmaut back home?
I see the picture that you have behind.
Mm-hmm.
So I will start with this. The day of Yom Haatzmaut for me is really one of the holiest day, and this is a day that I'm dedicated to my family. And in this day, I'm trying to do two things. One, of course, the food is really important, so we are dividing the time, the hours. But there is one thing that I will never miss, and this is what you have behind. I'm going every year. This year I couldn't, unfortunately, but I'm not worried. I'm going to the Air Force Base, where the March of the Airplanes living, and there is a beautiful exhibition. So guys, if you are, this is my recommendation now. If you are going to Israel during
For
this
the next
time,
Yom Haatzmaut.
exactly, and if you are in Israel in this time, please do not miss that. All the bases are, not all, but many bases are open to the public, and you can see a beautiful exhibition of everything, high-tech technology of everything, and it is beautiful exhibition, the flights of the airplanes and across the country. But of course, one of the really things that I like is the ceremony and on the TV in Har Herzl. This is something that I will not miss. And of course, the barbecue, the mangal, this is the ultimate movement of Israelis in Yom Haatzmaut.
So to explain, mangal, that's the movement that do the churrasquillo, the barbecue. Okay, and And what about your favorite music, Israeli music? Do you have any special singer, any special kind of music that you like?
You know, music is my soul. I love music. I love music, and I'm not saying because you ask me, but if you ask anyone that knows me, that is something that I really adore. You know, sometimes I used to listen to Kulthum, which is a very authentic Arabic singer from Egypt, Farid El Atrash, and this is something I think maybe the trauma from Sudan stay and bring his effects, and that's why my Arabic is still very deep in my mind. But I love Arabic music very much, but I also love jazz, really like jazz, and now I'm trying to adopt Brasileiro música.
A little bit of samba.
A little bit of samba.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So another question is, you know, our congregation, it's a Masorti congregation who is pluralistic, egalitarian, and inclusive. And we have in Israel some problems at recognition of different stream of the Judaism. So tell us about your thought about this issue, that it's very relevant for a congregation, and just for everyone know, for the first time, the Knesset have MK, a member of the Knesset from the Avodah, who is a Reform rabbi, Gilad Kariv, who start his tenure as MK, and he's very, very, very important activist in this egalitarian, inclusive, pluralistic Israel. So your thought on that?
It is. I think you touch one of the most complicated issue in the history, not the recent days, but in the history of Israel, which is the issue and conflicts between religion, the relation between religion and state.
Mm-hmm.
It is really deep and complicated, not because I'm saying that. It's something that we are facing every time since the establishment of the Israeli, the state of Israel. This was the issue that always stand at the top of the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
We are mentioning Haatsmaut 73. This is the issue that going with us for more than these years. And this issue has the right place to go and to be dealt. And by the way, you mentioned the MKs and the election, and this was also the topic on the agenda of the MK's list who was running to the election. And unfortunately, this issue will probably keep us busy for more coming years, unfortunately. But I think the right place for it is the Knesset. The Knesset and the Supreme Court, they have the mandate to deal with that, to negotiate, and at the end to decide what will be the rules and what will be the way that Israel will go or not go. And I think this is the debate that going and keep going in Israel even these days on everything. And I'm so glad that we have this pluralism and the freedom to talk, to express ourselves about almost any issue. And you see, you're not seeing me, uncomfortable or not trying to answer you. This is the truth. The truth is that this issue is really complicated, and so far there is no one clear answer what is the right or not the right way for that issue. So it's probably, I know I was reading high court decisions about, we had a previous conversation about other issues related to religion and state relation. And this is the life in Israel. And thanks God we have the structures of everything that we can say if something is not working for me as a citizen, I have the places to go and say, hey, this is not working for me. I want to do that. I want to change that. So I have the places to go. If it is the court, it can be the through the MKs trying to maintain rules that can promoting my ideology. But I think this is the right places to do that, and this is the right terms. We as a diplomats don't have the privilege to think different, because I think this is the right things to do. We are here representative of the state of Israel, and we are here following whatever the government will decide, and this is the way this is the way that we are doing our things.
Speaking of our government, there are many people that worry because now after the fourth election, it's where in the meantime there's no government. The president Reuven Rivlin gave to Benjamin Netanyahu the chance to form a new government, but the people didn't know what's happened in between. So I asked Aviel, who is actually the Sarahutz, and he told me that is Gavi Ashkenazi, and Gavi Ashkenazi didn't enter the next Knesset, but still it's in position. So explain, please, to our people how the government is running between or till that new government.
We need to pay attention for the structure of the Israeli politics and the way it's activated in our life. And you said that really right. The mandate to establish a government given by the president to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to try to establish a government. Until then, until there is no new government, the positions of the MKs, even though they didn't elected at the last elections, it will be only after they will find someone else to replace them. It can be by their head of the list, okay, or by the coalition's agreements. Until then, it will be remain by the decision that the government will be after the election.
So, speaking about diplomacy, there was a very important, the most important ally from Israel, United States, changed his president and his policy. So, what's your view on the new Biden administration regarding Israel? And the same question, what about the Iran deal?
Beautiful questions. I mean, again, I'm going back to the, my mandate as a diplomat, to the privilege to touch and discuss those issues are really important issues, not only for me as a diplomat, but also for the citizen all over in Israel and the United States. But the most important things that we need to remember is that United States is our greatest ally, our greatest friend, and we are maintaining the relations with bipartisan. We are not choosing any party, and we are not deciding with who to work. We are working according to the will of the people of the United States, and this is the the government that elected the United States, and we are respect that. Sometimes there are some, we are not going always as we want, but at the end we are friends. And these relations are so deep, and this is not related to who is on the top.
Okay, so we're going to close our talk, and we want to know what are your wishes for Israel for the coming years? What do you want to see in Israel in the next years?
I will connect to your last question about the Iran deal. My wish is that to keep doing amazing things with all the worlds. Last year we have the opportunity to to have peace. It is so beautiful world. I love the sound of the world, and it is not only meaning of words, but is really realistic. We finally bring to our side, we are going hand in hand with more countries, with more neighbors. And we have the peace that we did with Bahrain, with the United Arab Emirates, with Sudan, with Morocco, with Bhutan. And this is only a list of countries that joined us during the last year. And on the other side, you can see countries like Iran that always put in their agenda to hurt Israel, and their Iran and her proxies like Hezbollah and other terror groups. And my wish is that this evil will not be in this world. May peace be part of their agenda with all our neighbors. This is my wish. I want to live in peace with everyone. I don't want to be worried on what my kids will be doing when they will grow up. I know, and I want to think that they want to be safe anywhere in the world without being able to be afraid that some country try to eliminate us. And I'm so grateful that, and I want to stay with this attitude of peace because it's amazing. It's really deserve to be mentioned. This amazing opportunity that we had with the peace agreements that we had last year, I think I'm so grateful. I mentioned my Aliyah story, my history, and I mentioned Sudan. And you guys can understand what is for me. I can go back and maybe find those we bury on the way on Sudan. This is the power of peace. So this is my wish, and I really praying for peace, not only for Israel, for all the world. And of course, we are facing this critical moment, the COVID, and even though Israel is on the way to be almost behind this critical moment, we are sharing this information and we are helping our friends all over the world to support them and to be also in our situation. So I wish bריאות ורפואה שלמה לכל עם ישראל. I will try to say something in Hebrew and I hope our viewers will understand me.
בבקשה.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל, ואמרו אמן. This is my wish.
Okay, thank you, תודה רבה. We are very, very proud that we can celebrate Chag Haatsmaut with you, your family, and know a little bit about your amazing story.
Thank you.
We wish you a lot of success here in São Paulo, in Brazil. The last question, that not official question, do you have any soccer team, football here in Brazil? The people want to know. They offer a lot of teams, but it's your decision. As a diplomat to say, I will. You want to answer?
First of all, I will be open. I will be open to please
Okay.
you can always recommend me and take me to games that you guys like, and I will join you to any team. I love football, and I love the national Brazil team, and since I was kid, but I love football. I know the teams here in Sao Paulo are really a big deal, and but if you have any recommendation, please let me know, and I will come with you to any games that you go in. So
Okay.
please invited me.
We make an official offer to go to the stadium to see some of the São Paulo teams. And also, I want to thank you for your kindness, for your time, your generosity. And we wish you a success in your mission. And we certainly will have another opportunities to see you in our home, in our Beit Knesset, in our congregation, face to face, hopefully, when this COVID will allow to us. And we wish you Chag Haatsmaut Sameach and Raf Todot.
Rav Adrian, if I wasn't clear, I just want to emphasize really one sentence before we are saying goodbye and Chag Haatzmaut Sameach. I said that the relation I cherish with you guys, with all the Jewish communities here in Sao Paulo and all over the world, it is really important for me. I'm not saying that just to please you or in some way, I don't know. This is something that is really important, and I want you to feel in Israel like I feel at home in Israel. So this is your home, and you are more than welcome, always welcome. And I also want to wish all of you and all Israel Yom Haatzmaut Sameach, Chag Haatzmaut Sameach, 73 עצמאות. תודה רבה. Thank you very much for having me.
תודה. And I will say דברים היוצאים מן הלב, נכנסים אל הלב. תודה, אביאל. חג שמח.
חג שמח.